This is a video about a problem I had with my 1990 twin turbo 300ZX. I had replaced the engine with a JDM used engine and I ended up with a lot of engine noise. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, just wanted to show you, these are the lifters that I took out of the engine that you just heard in the previous video, making all the noise. Now this car carries 24 lifters. Now these are just a few I'm showing you. Now in the front here you can see one lifter that is broken down to the components, the different components, and they look pretty good. So it was a bit puzzling as to why the lifters were, all of them were so noisy. Anyway, I changed all 24 and put them in the car, new lifters, and still same noise. Just a couple pictures of the finishing stages of the job where I changed the 24 lifters. So I have new lifters in the car. Here I just had to put the bumper back on. I eventually put the bumper back on, started up the car, same noise. A lot of frustration now because I did not know what and why the new lifters were making noise. Same problem. Okay, so eventually I struggled for roughly 6 months trying to figure out this problem. I changed oil, I used different bodies of oil, I used Marvel Mystery Oil, I used Lucas. Still, same noisy engine. Couldn't figure out what it was. Eventually, but just by accident, I did figure it out. And I just want you to hear what the engine sounds like with this problem fixed. Okay, so let me show you what the problem was. So remember, I took this car by two mechanics. They told me the hydraulic lifters were either bad or sticking. So let me show you what it eventually was. The oil pan had a big dent in it. Now this is how it came from the Japanese used place. These engines are heavy. So how they store them on the oil pans. And this one had a big dent. So this is after the fact. You can see the welds where the mechanic welded rods and they pulled the dent out. After they pulled the dent out, it took maybe a couple seconds and the noise just stopped. So as you can see, dented oil pan, the car wasn't getting the proper pressure. And then if you look at the diagrams of the pickup tube for the 300Z, it sits low in the pan. It sits almost where the drain bolt is there. So it sits pretty low. So what was happening? The car was starving for oil on idle because of a dent. So if you ever have problems with lifters, noisy lifters, one thing you can look for is the oil pan, the condition of the oil pan. Make sure it doesn't have a dent in it. Make sure the car is not starving for oil. Look at your oil pressure. The thing is, I always had a defective gauge, so I was not even looking at that. And that is what caused the whole problem. So it was one day I was changing the oil, maybe for the 9th time, and I saw this dent and I started to do some research, and that was the problem. So again, noisy lifters, they need pressure, especially if they're hydraulic lifters. If you have low pressure, they're going to make noise. So it's not the actual lifters that were defective. It's the oil pressure was not enough for the engine. Hope this helps someone, because this was a very frustrating ordeal.